The Hunt. The Hunt is the greatest mission of the Dark Angels. While it goes unresolved, while the fallen remain at large, there is an open wound in our chapter that spills our lifeblood, distracts us from our true calling. He took a long breath. My greatest power is to unite the unforgiven, to bring us together in common cause. All that we achieve is as nothing if we cannot expunge the stain upon our honor. And with me is also the power to destroy it all, to unravel the very fabric of the Imperium itself with revelation and truth. Secrets and lies, these are the unfortunate weapons I have in my armory, as much as bolt guns and chainswords. Hello my friends, and welcome back to another video. In this video we'll be taking a dive into the lore of the current chapter master of the Dark Angels Legion, Azrael. I'll be going over how they became chapter master, their significant moments in the lore, and what we should expect from them in the future. So, without further ado, let us begin. Azrael, the Supreme Grand Master of the Dark Angels, rose to his esteemed position through a journey marked by valor, leadership, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Born amidst the savagery of the feral world Chimeria, Azrael displayed none of the untamed behaviors of his origins. Instead, he emerged as a beacon of leadership, eventually becoming known for his pivotal role in the significant events within the Dark Angels chapter. One of Azrael's early feats was his leadership in the scouring of Truan 9 and the suppression of a techno-revivalist cult during the Phase 5 uprising, showcasing his strategic acumen and combat prowess. Azrael would rise up through the ranks of his brothers and ultimately ascend to the position of Master of the Deathwing. He would lead the assault that culminated in the defeat of the demonically possessed governor of Cephalagum, followed by the implementation of Exterminatus on the world, earning him widespread renown during the Vendetta campaign. However, Azrael's ascension throughout the ranks of the Dark Angels wouldn't stop there, for he would be elevated to the position of Supreme Grand Master after the death of the previous Grand Master, Nibirius, in the Ramiel betrayal. Fighting alongside Ezekiel, Azrael recovered Nibirius' body and the chapter banner, vanquishing his killer, the Night Lord's demon prince, Gendor Skravok. I see that 10,000 years has not settled your delusions, Azrael said with a forced laugh. He had almost reached the top of the slope, 20 meters from the demon prince. I am Azrael, Supreme Grand Master of the Dark Angels, Lord of the Rock, Scion of Caliban, Commander of the Angelicasta. I bow only to one power, and he resides on Terra. You are not fit to scrape the mud from the tracks of my Land Raider. This heroic act swiftly propelled Azrael into prominence, earning him the title of Keeper of the Truth and the leadership of the Inner Circle. Having completed the trial set by the Inner Circle as the Supreme Grand Master, Azrael not only commands the Dark Angels in battle, but also safeguards the chapter's most closely guarded secrets, notably orchestrating the relentless hunt for the fallen. Additionally, Azrael would be privy to one of the most disturbing secrets hidden within the rock: the imprisonment of Luther, the arch-betrayer. This secret was passed down from chapter master to chapter master, each trying with no success to get vital information from their former commander, namely the location of their lost Primarch, Lion L. Johnson. Interestingly, Luther himself would view Azrael as a settling presence, perhaps sensing that he, above all that have come before him in his cell, is truly worthy of leading the Dark Angels in the Lion's stead. Azrael, he was called. There was an energy about him that settled Luther. He was calm where others had been defiant, cautious of Luther, and not sympathetic, but understanding of the manic nature of his existence. He spoke as much as he listened, telling Luther how much time had passed and snippets of news from the outside world, all the better to center his thoughts on the present. Yet even then, it was hard to stay cogent. The more Luther dwelt on what he had become and what the Dark Angels had turned into, the more desperate he became for his release. And so the cycle continued unabated. After several encounters with Azrael, Luther came to his senses on his knees, hands clasped in front of him, filled with a sense of deep need. He had been begging forgiveness again, but still the lion did not answer. Instead, Azrael stood before him, his face grimmer than any Supreme Grand Master before. He had not said a word before a memory came to Luther and he began to speak, knowing in his heart it was what the leader of the Dark Angels needed to hear, but knowing he would also never listen. Luther would fall into one of his prophetic visions during this encounter, and upon awaking would find that his stasis chamber remained inactive. Azrael gone, the door to his prison open, and the rock was under assault. Wondering to himself if Azrael had left him with a path to freedom intentionally. Something from Azrael's perspective we know was not the case. Azrael's role and influence in the galaxy extends far beyond time itself, as his collaboration with the enigmatic figure Cypher to gather the time-altering Tacota engine would lead to the creation of a warp rift over Caliban. However, the unintended consequences of this action resulted in the scattering of the Fallen, not only in the 41st millennium, but also the Fallen of which had been on Caliban 10,000 years ago, during the destruction of the Dark Angels' homeworld and the falling of their father, ironically making Azrael a savior of the Fallen. In the wake of the massacre at Darkmoor, Azrael convened a summit of Unforgiven Chapter Supreme Grand Masters, subsequently pledging support to Rabute Guilliman's Indominus Crusade, which brought much-needed Primaris Space Marine reinforcements. Embracing the Imperium's new forces out of necessity, Azrael oversaw the induction of Primaris Space Marines into the Dark Angels, subjugating them to rigorous tests of loyalty, personally staking his career on the Primaris Space Marine Atherin. Azrael's unwavering confidence in their worthiness was vindicated through their successful trials. When Azrael made his decision known, many of the Masters and Chapter Masters were incensed. Knowing that he could not tell them of Luther's escape, Azrael faced the prospect of causing a second schism among the Sons of the Lion. The gravest threat the Dark Angels and their successors had faced in 10,000 years brewed in the Somnium stars, and he risked making more of his brothers renegades. Employing all of his diplomatic skill and appealing to the successors' unimpeachable sense of duty, he persuaded all to consider another test. The Deathwing had petitioned him with one brother Atherin. The former Greyshield had earned their attention, and the Deathwing believed that he might be worthy of joining their number. Azrael put to the Chapter Masters and Masters that he had confidence that Atherin would pass the trials, hear the truth, and succeed as any Dark Angel might. Azrael staked his chapter's entire reputation on a single warrior. Many of those skeptical were moved by Azrael's conviction and humility before them, despite his superior rank. Many were persuaded by this act alone, knowing that Azrael would never make such a choice without total confidence in future success. Azrael personally oversaw Atherin's trials, which the former Greyshield passed. While some of the successor Masters remained skeptical, they still conformed. Their loyalty to and trust in Azrael outweighed their doubts. Azrael's willingness to undergo the Rubicon Primaris himself underscores his commitment to leading by example and embracing the Imperium's evolving strategies and technologies. By becoming a Primaris Space Marine, he not only augmented his own abilities, but also aligns himself more closely with Guilliman's vision for the future of the Space Marines. The significance of Azrael's transformation is twofold. Firstly, it symbolizes his readiness to adapt and evolve in the face of ever-changing threats to the Imperium. Secondly, it represents a strategic decision by the Dark Angels to integrate Primaris Space Marines more fully into their ranks, bridging the gap between tradition and innovation within the chapter. Not too long after taking on the Rubicon Primaris, the Rock was assaulted by the demon Vashtor the Archifane, and though Azrael was still recovering from his transformation, there was no hesitation when it came to defending the Dark Angel's fortress. Amidst it all, the Archifane dueled the Supreme Grand Master. Azrael was a superlative warrior with centuries of experience and skill, but his newly augmented body had not yet healed from its dramatic surgeries. Vashtor, meanwhile, was a timeless and tiresome horror of the warp, a demon demigod goaded to fury by the nearness of his prize. As the Archifane's onslaught intensified, even the proud artificer systems of Azrael's relic wargear began to spark and seize. The demon's hammer rose and fell like an industrial piston, clashing against the Sword of Secrets again and again. To his horror, Azrael realized too late that this was a fight he could not, in this moment, win. Azrael would have to retreat from this fight, but it would not be his last conflict with the wayward demon. As Vashtor's plans unfold, Azrael leads an assault on the world of Wormwood, the corrupted remnants of the Dark Angel's ancient homeworld of Caliban. Azrael coordinated a boarding action with his forces in a desperate bid to stop the demon's machinations. However, the situation became dire as the demon Prince Angron joined the fray, threatening to overwhelm the Imperial forces. Joining forces with the chapter master of the Blood Angels, Dante, they would find themselves with their backs against the wall, as the overwhelming might of Vashtor's and Angron's armies hammered against the Astartes legions with no signs of lessened vigour. As the battle on Wormwood neared its end, Azrael bore witness to the unexpected arrival of Lionel Johnson, the gene father to the Dark Angels and lost son of the Emperor. Azrael cried out in dismay as Angron threw back his head and roared in triumph. The Blood Angel's chapter master lay defenseless before him, open to the killing blow. Yet as Azrael watched powerless, shadows suddenly coiled around the Red Angel and his victim. Tendrils of mist obscured the figures, and from amidst the vapors spread incongruous green shoots of what looked to Azrael like plant life. Shifting shapes unfurled, resembling nothing so much as a sketch of a dream of half-remembered trees, their dense boughs more shadow than substance. In the next instant, Azrael's bewilderment gave way to awe. A tall figure in a flowing cloak stepped from the mist to place himself between Angron and Dante. Space Marines in black armor manifested around him and spread down the steps, but Azrael barely noticed them. He could only stare at the warrior with the glowing blade and glinting shield. It did not matter that Azrael had only seen him before in tapestries, frescoes, and stained glass. His very blood knew this warrior's identity. His gene seed sang with the truth, teetering as close to being overwhelmed as it was possible for a Space Marine to come. Azrael went to one knee. He was looking at the lion, returned to his gene sons at the hour of their greatest need. Some part of Azrael squirmed with dread, for the Primarch had also returned in time to witness the sins of the unforgiven writ large. His mind whirled with self-recriminatory images, the rock defiled by invasion, Luther's escape, the horrors unleashed by the Tuculture engine. Yet even these memories could not undermine the surge of raw vitality and exultation that galvanized Azrael at the sight of the lion alive and returned. After a brief back and forth between the two Primarchs, Lionel Johnson and Azrael would lock eyes, and instinctively Azrael knew what his gene father needed of him. Coordinating the Imperial effort alongside Dante and leveraging the Lion's formidable might against Angron, together they succeeded in evacuating Wormwood before its destruction, saving what remained of their exhausted forces. Throughout these conflicts, Azrael has demonstrated not only his martial prowess but also his leadership skills and strategic acumen. His ability to forge alliances, adapt to evolving threats, and lead his forces with unwavering resolve proves instrumental in facing the challenges posed by the enemies of mankind. And though the Lion has returned, I believe Azrael's place as a respected leader within the Dark Angels and the Imperium itself will remain as impactful as ever. Azrael, more likely than not, will initially be opposed to the Risen, though with some insight from his father and due to his own proven flexibility and progressive approach to the Primaris, I'd expect him to come around to their reintegration into the Emperor's Angels and restore the Dark Angels to their former glory. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Azrael is an amazing character, and I hope this video has been able to do him the justice that he truly deserves. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, click the bell button if you want to be notified of any future videos, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so on Patreon for just £1 a month. Or click that join button down below to support on YouTube for just 99p a month. Feel free to share this video with your friends and let me know in the comment section down below what your favourite Azrael moment is.
Let's feed the algorithm gods.
Thanks again for watching my friends, and ta for now.